So let me understand that. What you're basically saying is that the role of e-commerce is to provide competitive pricing. Let me say
That's the way people are
perceiving it. All right. So it's a good point, and it's a good ice-breaking mechanism. If that is the case, one way or the other, we want them to adopt e-commerce, get used to the idea of e-commerce, and provide them with opportunities and options which may or may not exist offline, and get them used to the convenience of shopping online. So let me say that the initial movement into e-commerce has been facilitated by discounting, and it was very essential in the initial. Many companies burnt themselves and died, but it was an essential part of that was pioneering efforts to create a marketplace to begin with, and then it is how you keep on evolving a marketplace. So I think in times to come, you should be going more for unique opportunities of what you can buy outside of buying the same Nokia phone here or for 200 rupees lesser online. And that's what the consumer behavior will become.
We will easily cross around 15 to 16% in 3 years. 3 years, our e-commerce division will at least deliver 15% of our sales. 15% of our sales, but it will deliver 40% of our profits, because the costs involved in e-commerce are much lower than a brick and mortar. There are no rents, there is no capex, there is no renewal of capex, there is no staffing, so many administrative distances, logistics, all of those are kind of taken care of in e-commerce. So may give 15% of our sales, but we'll give 40% of our profits.
Who's the consumer? It is the young consumer. It is the young consumer who's hooked on to the online life, and not so much the 30+ consumer. So let's say the consumer, or the consumer who is today 15 or 16 or 17 lives half their lives online. So imagine when they come up to be 20 or maybe 25, when they are now financially independent and are able to use their decision making to do what they want to do with their money. There will be a huge explosion of traffic, of consumption online, things which are already happening in the more developed countries. So I believe Japan has some 15% of its retail consumption happening online today. I think US is around 7%, and I think China, in this little short time, with so much money gone into China in e-commerce, is already in the late teens. So those are very scary numbers also for me. It's just gigantic numbers that seem to come up, and I think India will, with its youth and its population bias towards youth, it's bound to happen.
There are multiple things happening at the same time, so nothing really needs to be done as done. When you look into penetration of smartphones or tablets or phablets, that is exponentially growing, and I think sometime whenever Reliance is able to launch its 4G services in India, bundled with hardware and multiple, let's say, data-based applications as opposed to voice-based applications, that itself could actually increase the penetration rate of smart devices dramatically. The Bharat Broadband scheme, which has been talked about in the last 3-4 years, being headed by Mr. Sam Pitroda. And if it is the question of connecting about 200,000 panchayats, or whatever the numbers are, with a dedicated fiber optic network, you will also see penetration of this pipeline digital, even in villages in India. So many of these changes are actually happening at the same time. So in our view, 2016 would probably be the tipping point where we will begin to see, not only just in urban India, but small town India and rural India, penetration of e-shopping. This phenomena is a universal phenomena. It is now known as showrooming. So world over, retailers are grappling with this challenge. Even much more in the developed countries like the USA, that customers will walk confidently into a department store or a hypermarket equivalent or whatever it is, look for the price, look for the product, and using an app, there itself find out which is the one who's giving cheapest, wherever the cheapest is there, just go home. So even if they are actually not sure about the product attributes, quality, touch and feel, they do all of this in a physical shop, but then they will go online because now there is no risk in their mind. Whosoever can give it cheapest, they do that. All over the world, people are rational. It's not only India. Even if you're an American with a significant amount of income, you have to be really crazy to pay more than what you should be paying. So if I'm into department store A in America and I see the same Lee pair of jeans being retailed at $49, and on my app, on my cell phone, somebody says it's available from some other retailer, maybe, or some online channel at $42, I'll just go home, or maybe go to the parking lot in my car only, I'll place an order, or maybe I'll sit in the coffee shop in the same shopping mall and place an order at 42, and the $7 is my saving on that coffee there. So in India, this is very less right now because most people are not aware. So this is still a phenomena which is to do with, let's say, electronics to some extent. But we will see this rapidly changing and expanding in terms of number of categories within the next 3 to 5 years. One hybrid model which could be for brands, not retailers, could be that they take up a small space in a shopping mall but keep no merchandise. They only have display merchandise, and then you have got digital tablets. And if the customer likes some merchandise, they say, we'll take your order. If you don't want to place on your own, we'll just place it through us. In fact, if you place it through us right now, we'll give you a discount because you don't want the customer to go away and he or she may not place an order. And then you say it will be delivered to your home from a local warehouse, wherever it is, within 24 hours, 36 hours, 48 hours, or whatever the lead time might be. And customers, it is our belief in Technopak that customers will be comfortable with that. Very few customers want something like right now. USA, for example, there's a retailer called Bonobos, Bonobos, and they have now these physical stores, physical quote unquote. They were earlier pure online, and many other brands are now thinking about saying that let's go from online to physical. But the difference is they are not putting physically large stores of 5,000, 50,000 square feet. Whatever your product is, let the customer touch and feel, experience it if required. But transaction is only done there, but goods are not stocked and delivered from there.
Oh yes. In fact, see, what is happening is, and I think we need to probably understand it very clearly, the catchments are shrinking. The time available to the individual consumer to shop and get the products in hand is coming down. However, the desire and aspiration of the Indian is going up. I mean, these are two contrasts. So in this, what is it that you would like to do? You would like to serve the largest assortment at the nearest point of purchase for the consumer. So I am definitely seeing a model which is a combination of brick and mortar and e-commerce, what is being referred to as omni-channel. And in India, because the e-commerce penetration through mobile and tablets are happening faster than the PCs, so therefore shopping on the move is likely to be the way things will happen. And because shopping on the move is going to happen, therefore you'll find a brick and mortar plus an e-commerce combination actually being very successful. There are issues which are going to be more regulatory issues, because I think the government as well as the industry is confused on where the policies are going. But if you put all this together, I think in the next 3 to 5 years you'll see the omni-channel business emerging as a very strong contender. Oh yes, yes. See, eventually if you look at it, price will play an important role. But more than price, to me, value and convenience is going to play a much more important role. And in convenience, the value is already priced in. Okay, and let's not forget that the merchandise sales, the merchandise retailing is competing with many things, which are all got to do with time. So if I have, let's say, 3.5 hours on a weekend, I have an option to shop, dine, or see a movie. Okay, or even go to a spa and have a nice massage. For all the four, if I'm going alone, I'll spend 1,500 rupees. If you're going with a family, spend 4,500 rupees. So the question is, who is going to take the 4,500 out of my pocket? So therefore, you will actually find that it will be more convenience based, and the choices are going to be cross-category choices. So it will be very unfair for somebody to say that my competition is with another apparel retailer. No. If the consumer has decided this weekend not to shop with you and go to see a movie, your competitor is a movie guy who's probably taken away the 3 hours of time and 4,000 rupees.
E-retailing has a huge potential. The consumers are shifting their behaviors, not only from experience perspective. Now they're also seeking convenience. As the number of working people increases, double income in the families is increasing. This is clearly a highly underpenetrated category. Therefore, for QSR industry per se, we are already experiencing this format growing at more than double-digit rates. Consumers are asking for more and more home deliveries. They are looking for more and more web ordering, ordering through mobile, etc.
It is very important to consider how e-retailing is going to impact the retail real estate, i.e. the physical space in front-end retail. You know, clearly we see that there is going to be more and more retailers moving on to e-commerce. It's not only about Amazon, it's also about how Marks and Spencer's, Debenhams, CNA, they are getting into the e-retailing, and a large part of their business today is coming in from e-retailing. Is this going to impact the demand for physical retail real estate? Absolutely. But on the whole, we believe that there is going to be physical retail real estate that will continue to expand, and equally e-commerce will continue to expand. So the market size is going to grow rather than e-commerce eating into the physical retail real estate part.
Well, I think e-retail is actually gaining ground. What started small is certainly building up as a channel of sale. E-retailers might not be making money, but that's a different issue. I think as a channel of sale, it's certainly becoming a lot bigger and more omnipresent today than what it used to be even last year. Categories which I think which got immediately impacted were categories such as books, music, movies, electronic accessories. Those are the kind of categories which got immediately impacted. But I think when you look at it on a longer term basis, apparel is certainly an area which today is becoming a lot stronger on e-retail, because I think for simple purchases, for seasonal sales, all of that, people are comfortable actually buying on a website. So it's slowly now spreading to accessories, especially handbags, footwear, sunglasses, watches, those kind of categories. So I think it's a trend which is only going to increase. Today it is small, it's probably less than 0.5% of the total Indian retail market. But if you look at, say, markets like the United States, it's about 7-8%. Europe is also reasonably large. So China is actually growing quite significantly. So there is no reason why India cannot be, even if it is 1%, it will probably, quadruple the size of the e-commerce market today. So I foresee that there is a lot of investment, there is a lot of interest, and there is much greater internet penetration. So every single positive factor currently exists for the growth of e-retail in this country.
Online or the e-retail standpoint, clearly I see e-retail becoming or getting more and more important in the Indian context, because you do have a lot of limitations in terms of infrastructure in the industry. So while brick and mortar, the service at brick and mortar is evolving and dramatically so, and organized retail is getting bigger and bigger in the India context. What I also see is a possibility for online retail to become more and more important and take the opportunity from the fact that there are some infrastructure constraints. There's not enough good retailing. It's not easy to hire great retail brand ambassadors as staff. So I see a big opportunity there. And I also see online retailers addressing the issues that are typically there in any new industry, where the consumer is not sure, they don't want to share the credit card details, or they don't want to. So, and retailers are evolving quite rapidly and adapting to the consumer. So eventually, again, it finally comes down to, if you're able to deliver to the consumer's expectations and over a period of time lead the consumer expectations, there is opportunity for online retail, and I see online retailers doing that already to a large extent.
E-retailing is very different. E-retailing, the consumers are very price sensitive. They are always looking for a bargain. We have e-retailing, and we are using that to collect data, to understand India, which city which state, which pin code is buying the products. That helps us in the future to go to that market. It is a very small percentage of our business, but we look at 10 years from now or 5 years, will be at least 20% of our retail business will come from e-retail.
I think we haven't reached, a tipping point stage at all still. A tipping point probably will come in 3-4 years time. We are still, at the very nascent stage of e-retailing. We as in Domino's Pizza in India are the market leaders. And why I'm saying this is still, having done all that, 20% of our revenue, of our deliveries today actually are booked through the internet, of which 10% come through the mobile application, through the mobile phones. If I look at, and we are the leaders, so talk of everybody else, probably a minuscule single-digit percentage actually of their business actually comes through retailing. So it's still very early days. Tipping points will happen much later. I think the first thing is where every other retailer, food retailer, food service retailer actually ends up having a conduit through the internet where you can place the order and it can be delivered to your home, or you could go and consume it on the site. So to my mind, that is the next big thing for us. We believe in a few years time, in terms of number of transactions, we could be one of the highest transacted category, as is evidence from other parts of the world. I mean, if I go to, a Domino's in Australia or UK, or for more than 50-60% of our business is actually booked through the net. It's all e-tailing. So we believe we will also reach that stage as Domino's as a company, and even the industry will kind of move forward.
Everybody wants to jump into e-commerce. That's an easier business for you. You don't have to have infrastructure, make a product and sell it. For us, it is, again, like I said, it's slightly different for us. We need to ensure that we tie up with the right partner. The partner portrays us in the right way. So that's the reason we haven't gone berserk and signed with all the e-commerce. We only tied up with Myntra now. Let's understand the market, okay? Though Myntra is doing a good business for us, but it's too early for us to say. We are only like 2 months with them now. So we will have to give it a season at least to understand, how it's going to produce. What people like, what people don't like. Like I said, Being Human was earlier always known as a t-shirt brand because people have only seen t-shirt.
Online dynamics are as different from brick and mortar as black and white TV is from color TV. It's a different world. You've got to get your dynamics of online completely separate, your brick and mortar are completely separate, but make sure that you put both of them together in the perfect way to create barriers for either those who are only brick and mortar or for those who are only online. Today I attended many sessions here. I heard people who are very scared because they have only brick and mortar and they're getting killed by online pricing. And I heard a lot of online people saying, I'm getting killed by the fact that brick and mortar can give better experience of touch and feel. Those who can create the perfect barrier, create walls. First of all, I don't understand why a brick and mortar would be scared of online. I think it's the biggest example of what they are not doing, which is get online. A lot of people here spoke to me saying, I have a single brand, I sell from allied internet sources, which is they give their product to 4-5 other retailers like a Jabong, will sell their t-shirt. It's great, that means the brand is selling there. Why are you scared of the fact that there is acceptance for that and it's not coming so much from your brick and mortar? Tomorrow when you go online with the right strategy, with the right marketing and new age marketing tools, you will do fantastic. So the incredible potential and opportunities that are starting to come, I call the screen of the smartphone the greatest showstop of all times. It is your storefront, it is the entrance, it is the window display to what you would have as a shop. So that's the greatest shop front of them all. And as soon as people start to realize that, it will be amazing. Imagine a world where you walk into a store, it's either brick and mortar or online, and as you walk through, you go up and let's say you're picking up a particular kind of, let's say a food. You don't have to find any more information about it. You just take your phone, it scans it, it gives you all the information. You know everything about that. It also tells you the other three that are the competition and what it could do for you. It also tells you, let's say it's a food product. Let's say, as Mr. Ajit Joshi gave me an example, there's a store that had pasta. The minute you buy pasta, Your phone will tell you, take a right and a left, pasta sauce is here, take another left, the cheese is here, and it will give you 3 menu recipes with that. Now, that's called the true power of retail, and it's coming. Those who will adapt, it will be great. They say technology is like a road roller. Either you're driving it or you're going to be crushed and become part of the road, right? So hopefully you'll be driving the road roller, not becoming part of the road.
The largest e-commerce businesses run on apparels. Global, this is the global trend. Yes, if you take away travel from it, then the largest e-commerce is in the area of apparels. Now, of course, having said that, there's a word of caution that these countries are developed countries, their sizing matrices and things are very, very strong and developed. The quality standardization and rules and regulations which protect consumers are extremely evolved. So when you take a leaf from a developed country and the infrastructure and the history that they already have in the category, and if you put it in place, I mean, and you compare it with India, where retail just about happened in India 10 years ago, and I today even feel that offline retail is in prehistoric years, still in the Indian context. So there is a fear of that base level not existing of standardization and minimum expectations guaranteed to a consumer. But on the other hand, I think the online retailers have understood this extremely well, and they have actually gone with very high risks model. It's basically buy it, we'll bring it to your doorstep. If you don't like it, we'll take it back. We won't ask you questions. Do try it, you know. A brick and mortar retailer doesn't even do that today. You can, a large brand, international brand in India, I've been at war with them for 8 months now over a large ticket value, and they refuse to acknowledge that it's time that they should return my money. Whereas the e-commerce retailers have taken a completely different route. So let's say these clever moves to de-risk the consumer decision and have a recourse at any stage is a very huge investment that the Indian e-commerce is making in getting consumer confidence.
See, currently the key driver of e-commerce is price. Because of the fact that you get nationally recognized brands and standardized products at better prices on a website is the reason why people tend to go and buy there. The whole concept of actually customers walking into showrooms, looking at products and then going back home and then buying it off an e-commerce site is something which is prevalent across. It's called showrooming. And is a phenomenon in the US, where a lot of people go in and check out the products in the store, get an understanding of the features, and then come back and buy it on a website. So I think that's not, it's not new as a phenomenon in this country. But I think the most important thing is that at the end of the day, the customer is looking for the best deal. And if showrooms brick and mortar stores don't evolve to a level where they can actually heighten the customer experience and create value around intangibles that they can provide to the customer. But if they also focus only on price, then that's a mug's game, because at some stage somebody else will offer a better price and then there'll be no reason for somebody to buy from here. So I think when you look at it from both perspectives, e-commerce, while it's largely predicated on price, a brick and mortar store will have to heighten customer experience for them to be able to retain their customers. No, actually, in fact, in some senses, if you look at various categories, you can actually decide what you want to actually keep now in the store. Gone are the days when you used to put up large stores. But today what's happening is people are conscious of real estate cost. People are actually conscious of the right assortment to keep in the store, and because of which there is an opportunity for you to be able to downsize the stores. So even electronic stores, which used to earlier be 15 to 20,000 square feet, are currently between 8 to 12,000 square feet. And this is not just an Indian phenomenon. If you go to the US, for example, Best Buy is doing exactly the same thing, downsizing their core stores. The second thing is in terms of making sure that you have an efficient assortment. Earlier, you used to buy everything and keep it and hope that something would sell. But today, understanding the customer and the catchment, understanding what's actually sold in your store before, understanding what's happened in similar stores, and then defining a much tighter assortment and keeping that in the store so that you can be reasonably certain that anytime the customer comes in, 90% or 95% of the choice is available in terms of pure availability within the store. All of that is going to be very, very critical as far as running a store is concerned. Third is in terms of the customer experience. And when I talk about customer experience, what does happen in categories like electronics is that customers have more knowledge about the product than the salesperson. So they come in and they say that this laptop has got an i3 or an i5 or an i7 processor, and is it first generation or second generation or third generation, and salespeople don't have the same knowledge. So what is also happening is that the amount of time that you need to invest in training people, getting better quality salespeople, all that is also increasing. So all of those are important and responsible for better customer service than what you've always got in the past.
I think till the point the base of e-retailing is low, it's going to grow faster in percentage terms. But a stage is going to come where you have to understand one thing. Even while the e-retailing is a conduit of placing your order and so on, at the end of the day, it is the brick and mortar machinery which delivers the whole thing. So the brick and mortar is also going to grow at its own sweet pace overall. It's not that our stores will cease to exist, consumers will not go to the store and eat. But yeah, what will happen is, with all the demographic changes, lifestyle changes thrown in, the growth rates of e-retailing probably will be higher, but brick and mortar will have its own place to kind of also grow and coexist and move forward.
Indian retailers are fantastic to adopt to technology. They are terrible in adopting to innovation. They don't want to be first with anything. They don't want to put money into innovation. Any technology that is working well, they are okay to adopt to it. But ask them to invest in an innovation and they will immediately say there's no return on investment. What they have to realize is somebody somewhere innovated and they are only copying. Innovation will become the most important part of this last puzzle. And it's very critical for them to understand that your brand stands out not just for better sales. If you're an innovative brand, your mind share, your thought process in the customer's mind, recall, all increase. And that's one of the reasons why I believe that this last synergy, as you spoke about, this coming together, isn't happening. Usually a brick and mortar will say 95% of my sales come from my shops, 5% from online. I'm very happy. How sad that you think 5% of the online is good enough when you have the Flipkarts and the Jabongs who have 100% of sale from online. Why are you letting that market slip away? They sell nothing that they make. You make your own product. They sell nothing that comes from a factory. They are resellers. They have 100% of your business and you're happy with 5, right? And the best part of it is that online will make your brick and mortar sales better and vice versa if you can actually get that synergy. And that synergy again is not some kind of a magic wand that somebody will come and present to you. You've got to get your soul, your ethos of your brand, of your product right. Make sure that that translation goes online and you'll see the synergy come together. There are retailers today that make a store have an online experience in the same way as an online experience can have a real store experience. The first companies that understand that, when you walk into a shop, for instance, what do I mean by there are stores that make an online experience better? Let us say you are very loyal to a brand, okay? Let's say Zara, okay? Let's take an Indian one, okay? Some Indian brand. You walk into that store and you were checking their catalog online. Now you're thinking, I need to come in out here. What if you're recognized the minute you walk in, not by some photograph that is taken, but by some identity, which is, a loyalty card or something, where your online account, what you were doing, is immediately available to the salesperson. The salesperson will give you a customized experience. That person will say, I saw that you were looking at these 7 things online. Can I show you those more colors, alternates in that? Seems like you're looking for something for a party today evening. Can I take you to the party section? Now, would you go again to that company or would you go to some person who's like, Hanji, kya chahiye aapko? It's that perfect synergy which is done with intelligence, not necessarily silly technology. You know, overdoing technology can alienate. It's too intrusive. Every single day, if I send you a 50% plus 30% off coupon, you have no value for me as a brand, right? But you give me this. I walk in, you know who I am, you know my preferences, my choices, what I was doing with your brand just 12 hours back. You give me the ultimate experience, I'm yours forever, right? That's where I think the future, not 2020, it's got to be in the next 24 months. That some companies will do it and others will start copying it, but who cares? Hopefully everybody does it, something innovative eventually.
The large one that occupies my mind is reach. Because when I sit down and, as I was saying earlier today, when I do my business numbers, I have to know what is the size of my market. And the size of my market is governed by the reach of internet actually, not even, because there's not so much buying on smartphones. So therefore, that's the biggest handicap that we face. Outside of that, if I have to wager, then I think it is the unique product offering, the value creation outside of discounts as being the lead in decision making process. It should be based on intrinsic value combination of product and services that should flip the equation in favor of e-commerce. And that is by default a gradual process. It's not an overnight switch on off situation. So more competition will come, they'll expand the market, they'll bring more product and services and learn from each other's mistakes and perhaps evolve into a more consumer oriented e-commerce approach.